Welcome to the WNBA. The draft is over. The Sky have 4 new players, and they are getting acquainted to the Chicago Sky. We're going to break all of them down, as well as our analysis, and maybe some grades. We'll find out on the other side. What's up, Skytown? Welcome into another edition of CHGO Sky. I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm feeling pretty pumped. Maybe I'm running on 3 hours of sleep. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. We'll find out. I'm going to bring in my co-host in just a second here, but first of all, Sean on the ones and twos. Appreciate him being here. As always, we're going to get into all of these picks by the Chicago Sky, some that you may have known, some that you may not have known. And let's bring in my co-host, Stephen Garner out of Phoenix. Stephen, how you feeling?
I'm doing great. We had a very, very eventful draft day covering the Chicago Sky last night. Katie obviously being in person for the coverage at the draft party. Just kind of real quick, give us a temperature check on how things were last night. Just being in the ambiance and bumping shoulders with fans, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it was a very roller coastery kind of vibe with the 10th pick. A lot of shell shock, a lot of silence as people were kind of trying to figure out how they were feeling and just trying to figure out, what was happening. And then as soon as Hailey got selected with number 11, just cheers, huge applause. And even, as fans are watching the number 1 pick when Paige went to Dallas, even though it had nothing to do with Chicago, the fans, they were really hyped for that as well. So cool event, cool to be there in person.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to top last season's draft party that they threw, considering that they got Camila Cardoso and Angel Reese.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just probably never. Most franchises never top that in terms of a draft selection in one specific draft. But I think they did as good of a job as possible last night in comparison and kind of following up from what they did last season. So shout out to the Chicago Sky for setting that up. I think that's a very unique way to celebrate the team, the franchise, and being able to kind of combine media members with just the common folk and fans, and also add in front office executives and coaches being involved with the event as well. So very unique experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool to be at. Hopefully next year you'll be able to come in for that one. But yeah, really cool event. Before we dive into it, today's show is presented by Sunnyside. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions do apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois Med Card holders. All right, Stephen, let's dive right in. Number 10 pick. We did see the Sky make their move to get the number 11, but let's start with the OG here. Number 10, Aisha Sioka. Did you have any idea who Aisha was before last night?
Yes, I was aware of Aisha because Aisha is a very unique talent in terms of prospects for what was the W before she actually got drafted. Very unique talent with a skill set that is extremely evolved in the front court in particular. So as the W continues to transition to almost positionless basketball where you have 4 to 5 players on the court that can all dribble, pass, and shoot, she very much checks that box off in droves. And the skill set that she has at her age as well, and for how long that she's been playing professionally internationally, is going to be something that hits for the Chicago Sky. I think one of the most fun moments last night once she was drafted, when she was speaking with Holly Rowe, was that she mentioned Leonie Fibich as someone that she kind of looks up to in terms of how she kind of targets her game and how she potentially could see to have an impact on the W circuit based off of the dynamics that she brings. 3-point shooting galore, one of the quicker releases, especially for a player that's coming into the league that I've seen in recent memory. And I think that's something that if she can get healthy with the ankle injury, could be something that immediately stakes claim to some semblance of minutes, just because of the change of pace, if you will, that she brings from Angel Reese and Camila Cardoso in that front court.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe what she's bringing to the Sky. Let's take a look at just her bio and have you guys kind of get to know her. So she is from Slovenia, but she's been playing professionally in France for quite a while. She's 6'3". That is a tall basketball player, you guys. And then last season in France, 7.6 points per game. You can see some of her other stats there. She also had a really cool moment last night at the draft with her dad. That's always so sweet to see when they have the family members there. And yeah, Steven, how do you think that Aisha's going to fit next to Angel specifically? Do you have any concerns? Two tall players going out there with each other.
Concerns? Absolutely not. And it's because they fit hand in glove in terms of contrast to one another, where Angel is more paint oriented and downhill with her approach to the game and kind of playing around the post. Aisha can play in the post, but she's even better suited to play on the perimeter, being able to play off of potential roll gravity that Angel might have or Camilla might have when they're rolling to the basket and pick and roll, which I'm sure the Chicago Sky will run a lot of. Being able to just generally play in space off of any other actions going on, and when teams have to overcompensate with help because of the attention that other players get, whether it be her two front court teammates, Angel and Camilla rolling, or if they're giving extra attention to, let's say, Ariel Atkins, if she's coming off of a pick and roll. Maybe they have a big that's at the level of the screen. That's going to have the defense shift, and if she's on the second side or if she's one pass away, that puts her in a position to execute off the advantages that the other dynamics of the four players on the court surrounding her kind of generate. So it puts defenses in a position where they can't be right with the decisions that they're making. And if she's putting those scenarios spaced around the attention that other players on the Sky can generate offensively, or if it's even playing off of the playmaking of Courtney Vandersloot, one of the best point guards to ever touch the hardwood, that's opportunity for her to have her impact be felt immediately. And I think that having 3-point shooting in your front court in today's WNBA is a point of dictation towards opponents because of the ways in which defenses are trying to stop opposing offenses, usually have defensive capital being spent on a solid portion of the court that's not off ball. And if she can put defenses in compromise like that, where they know that they have to pay if they step over too far and help, but if they don't, they're also giving up something else either in the mid-range or at the basket. That's the type of confusion, that's the type of conflict that Tyler Marsh is going to want to put pressure on opponents with time and time again. And that dynamic is going to be something that's truly a change of pace for the Chicago Sky in the front court. And I think Rebecca Lobo mentioned that she sees Aisha having a little bit of Rebecca Allen to her game as well, as a bigger wingspan in terms of her reach, but also her height, and having that skill to space the floor, but also be viable and potentially putting the ball on the deck to attack the urgent closeouts that she's naturally going to get. I think she's well positioned with the Chicago Sky to be her best self and really start to build on her skill development to be a true impact player on the WNBA circuit.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Tyler Marsh does with her. But I think the really interesting conversation around Aisha right now is why the Sky chose to draft her at just 19. I can say for me personally, this was a surprise pick for me. And I think Jeff Pagliocca really gave us some insight about playing the long game with this one. So I do want to bring up one of his quotes here. Sean, I don't know if we've got this one. Basically, Jeff was saying she's been able to have a lot of success right now playing against grown women. Imagine that girl in 2, 3, 4 years from now. So Jeff clearly playing the long game, picking Aisha, and kind of a draft and stash. There's no necessarily confirmation that she's going to come to the W this season, but she did fly all the way to New York for the draft. That's not necessarily something that a player is going to do if she has no intention of coming over to the WNBA. So I think it's going to be really interesting to see if she decides to make the jump now or if she decides to stay international. But timing was interesting on this one. And Steven, do you think that they knew that they were going to take an international player with this number 10 pick, and maybe that led them to acquire the number 11 pick as some form of like insurance? Or do you think that that didn't play into this at all?
Yeah, I think that Sivka was someone that they had high on their draft boards, and they knew that they had a contingency plan in place in case she either decided not to come back or wasn't available because of injury. I think they crossed their T's and dotted their I's by getting into the draft with having another pick quite literally back to back. And I think they did a great job in executing on both of those in particular. And because of that, they now have themselves set up with tons of youth in terms of assets that they'll be investing in internally. And I think that's something that stood out last night, as you know as well, that Tyler and Jeff emphasized that they both have a thorough background in skill development in particular. And when you have this compilation of young talent, in addition to and following up with the picks that you made last season that you're still investing in, now you have essentially a treasure trove, a compilation of young talent that's going to be a driving force for you going forward that you can continue to filter through your system. And age wise, they're all checking off the box in terms of being on that same kind of streamlined part of their processes as well.
Yeah. One of the other things that Jeff mentioned last night was just that they had had good conversations, and they would, be ongoing conversations as well. So yeah, number 10 pick there with Aisha. There is a V in her last name. Look, we're working on it. All right, we're working on it. But the Sky pronunciation guide is Sioka. So Aisha Sioka. And then number 11 pick, Hailey Van Lith. I mean, if you don't know Hailey Van Lith by now, welcome to your introduction. This is going to be fun. Literally, I wish I could show you all my laptop screen. The first note in my analysis here just says "Hell yeah, brother," because holy crap, Hailey Van Lith pairing up with Angel Reese again. This is going to be so much fun. Steven, what was your initial reaction to the Sky drafting Hailey Van Lith?
Yeah, Haley is a player that we spoke about in our most recent episode with Maggie Hendricks. And for anybody that didn't check that out, definitely see what we were speaking to with Haley prior to the draft. And now that the Sky have brought her into their context with their number 11 pick last night, I think that it's a hand in glove fit. Maybe the biggest outlier from last night is that the Chicago Sky in this current regime have a type. And that type is players that have a chip on their shoulder, dogs, and just downright competitive athletes at their core. And I think that's going to be something that they're looking to kind of don as a weapon against opponents for them to be able to sustain a competitive level that, if it's not met from their opponents, is going to become a point of dictation for them over the course of games, and especially over the course of the now 44 game regular season. Speaking specifically to Haley, though, resilience, resilience. She had tons of adversity throughout her collegiate career, and if she wasn't mentally strong, there's no way she would have been up to the task of the adversity that she was meeting, nor would she have been as triumphant as she was in her final season, the way that she was with TCU. And last season was a redemption story for her. We spoke to that in the most recent episode with Maggie. And for me personally, with Haley, there's going to be room for improvement points that we'll definitely touch base on as we get closer to the regular season and we start to assess her minutes on the court. But one thing you won't have to worry about is her competitive bar. She is going to compete. She's going to get into it. She's going to be into people. She's going to put pressure on the ball defensively. She has work to do on that end of the court off the ball, but when she's on it, she gets into the hip and into the jersey of opponents. She's decent with her screen navigation, and that's something that Tyler Marsh dove into detail with last night post draft. I think that's something that they can certainly viably rely on her with and build off of. And offensively, I think the Chicago Sky are going to be a team that runs a lot of pick and roll, that runs a lot of dribble handoffs. And that is a copy and paste offensive approach that she saw great successes with TCU this most recent collegiate season. One that got them over the hump against a Notre Dame team that was ranked well ahead of them. And the ways in which she went about operating in that game in particular should be able to be copied and pasted to the professional level, playing off of handoffs, and specifically even more so in pick and roll. Last season, 56 players with 300 or more pick and roll possessions that included passes last season. Her points total in terms of the points she scored or the points that she generated with passes was 578. That was second of that 56 players in that 300 plus group. So she's proficient in pick and roll. The reads that she's going to be making are akin to what she did on the collegiate level.
Yeah, I think there's we've talked about the theme of like the Sky just taking every single dog they can find in the league, in college, on their coaching staff. Like that is filling up their roster, filling up their boardroom, filling up their coaching staff. Like that is the theme for the Chicago Sky, and they certainly got one in Hailey Van Lith. So let's get to know Hailey a little bit better here. Sean, if you have that full screen, perfect. Thank you. So Hailey's guard from TCU. You might know her as a former teammate of Angel Reese. We'll dive into that in a second. She did play on 3 different teams in college, so you may know her from a different uniform. But one thing you know for sure is that girl plays so hard, so constant. She is just, you can't run away from her. She's everywhere out on the court. One thing that I do want to play for you guys before we dive into her reuniting with Angel Reese, she was asked about it in New York at the draft, and I think that we cannot say it any better than she could. So let's listen in on what Hailey had to say.
Angel has maintained contact with me this whole past year since she's been in the league and I transferred. I really appreciate her. We have a very mature relationship, a mutual respect relationship where we both have respect for each other's game and also the character and the person we are off the court. So mostly I'm just excited to get to be around her again. I think we have a lot of similarities about how we carry ourselves and our mindset on, what's important to us. And, she's a dog, man. She turns up the intensity of everybody around her. So I'm excited to be in that environment with her again where she can pull more out of me than I think I have. She's willing to do things that aren't pretty to win. And I'm talking about aggressive rebounding, defense, things that, aren't, we call it sexy basketball. Like she's willing to execute those things to get a win. And I think that I share that, character trait with her. And ultimately, something about Angel that I think isn't talked about enough is that she's out there to win, regardless of what that means for her role, her stat line that game, whatever a team needs from her, that's what she's going to provide. I think I too have that persona about me that it doesn't matter what the team needs from me. If it's going to result in a win, I'm willing to lay it out there and try to provide that. So it's more of a toughness, resilience, grittiness to our game that I think aligns with each other.
So that's Hailey Van Lith at the draft in New York last night. Just talking about her fit with Angel. So obviously they played together at LSU. Hailey did not have her best season there. And for me personally, I think that had less to do with her fit next to Angel Reese and more so just her fit with the offense. Steven, I'm curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think you said that perfectly. Although obviously you would love to have as much talent as you possibly can on the roster, fit and context are as important as anything within that. I don't think the LSU offense was fit for her in particular, especially the overlapping of style of play at times, but also the spaces that she operates in being very much akin to Flau'jae Johnson, who was obviously heavily incorporated into everything being set up for that offense on those teams. And it was kind of too many cooks in the kitchen in a sense because of that. And I think that naturally her making the decision to go to TCU was one that was extremely fruitful for her because of those things. It gave her liberation in a sense to be herself more, be more creative, be able to kind of hone in on specific skills with the ball. And to that point, to kind of credit her for that decision and standing on business with it, she now leads TCU in their program history in terms of points compiled and assists compiled in a singular season. What better way to go out on your collegiate career than to do that and also take your team against all the odds to the Elite Eight as well?
Yeah, huge run for her there at the end of her collegiate career. I think she also said on the orange carpet last night that it was a funeral for her collegiate career. Do I have that correctly? So that was really cool. It just gives you more of an insight into her mindset. A few of the words there that she used that I absolutely love: resilience, grittiness, unsexy basketball. Like you can just tell that she has a mindset that is so similar to Tyler Marsh's. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, what he can do with Hailey Van Lith. And just a few quotes that I want to throw out at you here. This one from Jeff Pagliocca last night. He was speaking about, how she has been on so many different teams over the last few years, saying her ability to adjust, adapt, and still come out on top. I think that's going to be so important, not only because obviously the Sky's roster has been in flux over the last few seasons, but also because there are already guards on this roster. There is already a point guard on this roster that we all believe is going to be starting on day one in Courtney Vandersloot. So yes, there's a lot for Hailey to learn from her, but also how are these minutes going to be divided? And that's a conversation that I'm sure we're going to be having going into the season. But that ability to adapt is, I think, going to be so important. Steven, I'm going to put you on the spot, which you know I love to do. What do you think this lineup is going to look like day one? Do you think Hailey fits into the starting lineup?
No, I don't think starting is in the cards for her in her rookie campaign. I think that a six player type of role for the Chicago Sky team is going to be hard to come by because of how many veteran type of talents they already have within the rotation, especially at the guard/wing position. But she will find a niche. I think she will carve that out quickly. And I think that ability to be a chameleon in the sense that Tyler just got done speaking to in terms of the adaptability within her resilience, I think it's going to be something that allows for her to take the ego down, take the pride away, be able to be as receptive as possible to the veteran voices around her, Courtney Vandersloot directly at the point guard position. But I also think she'll be able to learn plenty from both Kia Nurse and Ariel Atkins in terms of how they operate in a two-way fashion and specifically off the ball. I know Hailey is a point guard, but a lot of the value that she brings is that she's a point guard that doesn't need the ball in her hands to have impact and be effective. And I think that is going to be of some of the utmost value if she's going to carve out that niche that I'm speaking to as one of the six players for the Chicago Sky team.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it. I don't want to spend too much time on the second round picks.
Oh, by the way, I know Hailey Van Lith. I know that's her name, but I think we'll quickly acquiesce to calling her Hailey Van Lit because that is the energy that she brings on a nightly basis, and she is going to be someone that uplifts the crowd. She's gonna strike. She's gonna strike a chord with the Chicago fans in a way that's gonna bring people out of their seats because she's able to do those quote unquote unsexy things that she got done speaking to yesterday. She's gonna be a guard version of Angel in multiple respects and specific and independent to herself because of those scrappy blue-collar extra efforts, 50-50 balls, running through screens, getting into the jerseys with players, not being scared to talk to opponents because she knows that she's confident and she also knows that behind her she's going to have four dogs in addition to a coach and a general manager that all speak that same language and are going to implore for her to be Hailey Van Lit. So, yes, we'll be getting used to calling her that a lot going forward.
That is a strong nickname candidate. I really like that one. That is yeah, well done on that. With her and Angel and Camilla and Aisha and everybody else on this team, I think the Chicago Sky might be the hottest ticket over the summer. Sources are saying that the prices are going up. I don't know. What do you expect the atmosphere to be like with this team now? Do you think we're going to see a big jump, kind of like we've seen, we saw a little bit of it last year. Do you think that Hailey and Aisha have the capability to take this team to yet another level?
I think that they're coming into this team context at the right time. A bit of a regime change from last season to this season. Naturally, there being a lot of energy coming behind that. Obviously, you also have the pillars in Angel and Camilla that have brought their own fan bases with them to the professional realm. Hailey certainly strikes that chord in her own respect as well. And I think that Aisha also will be able to scratch that or check that box off rather in similar respects from an international perspective. Kind of for Chicago Sky fans, think back to a lot of the attention that came when the Chicago Sky brought in Emma Mieseman. I think she can have a similar impact in terms of that because there's a familiarity with her from her overseas ties and the great successes that she had even in the under 18 programs that she built up to the moment that got her to have her name called last night at the draft. So I do think they can. And because these players, especially in the evolved WNBA, have their personal brands and like a cult type of following that is going to travel with them regardless of where they play because they support that way, I think it's going to culminate in a very unique fan experience for the Chicago Sky. And I feel like the support of the team because of that is also going to take another step in the right direction in terms of evolving with the times in the W.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think evolution is ahead, and it's only going to get more exciting. And yeah, before I let you go, before we hop out of here, um, before the draft, Jeff's stated goals heading in were that they were looking out for shooting fours. They wanted to add athletes. They wanted to add length. With that in mind, what grade would you give the Sky on their draft last night?
A+. And that's following up a season last year where he was able to wheel and deal in a sense to get in position to make the moves that they made on draft night last season. Last season can't be ignored because it set a tone for everything that's come since then. And with the odds stacked against him from initially expecting to have Kalia Copper on his roster and building around Kalia Copper with top end free agents, I can't overstate the mountains that had to be moved, the Herculean efforts, the attention to detail, the urgency that had to be taking place with the decisions made, the haste to go from plan A, and if not plan A, plan B, and if not plan B, definitely plan C, to put themselves in a position to be as good as they possibly could be. That is the job of a general manager. Obviously, to do so in alignment with the head coach is important as well. But to put the team in the best position to be successful, given the constraints of not having a facility of their own and different things like that, A+. The context that he's operating in is not normal for a general manager to have this type of adversity. Yet, and still, second time in a row, 2 off seasons in a row, he's done as much with giving essentially little compared to what the GMs that he's competing with had to work with over the offseason. So he's done his job again, another A+. And I'll kind of round that part out with saying that I think they're going to have some decisions to make over the next couple of weeks. Training camp starts next Sunday, not this upcoming Sunday, but the Sunday after next. And they have a boatload of players that know how to play, that have a cachet that precedes them, and they're going to bring their competitive fire to what might be the most competitive training camp in all of the W over these next couple of weeks. They're going to have some tough decisions to make to get that roster count down to the legal number going into the regular season. And because of that, everybody's going to come out better, and the Sky are going to be in a great position coming out the gate to set a tone for the regular season.
Yeah, that training camp is going to be an absolute dogfight. That's going to be tough. Watching those roster decisions be made is going to be really heartbreaking, and there's going to be some unhappy fans. There's going to be some unhappy players. This is the uncomfortable reality of the WNBA, but it's going to be entertaining at the very least. I think A+ is a great grade. As a pessimist, I'm going to go just a little teeny tiny bit lower. I'm going to say an A. And I think there's a potential to move up. It, I think, depends just on Aisha and whether she comes over this season. I'm really, truly hoping that she does, because she does seem just so absolutely talented. And seeing her at the draft last night in New York gave me so much hope that she is ready to make the leap over to the W. So I think there's some room there as well. And yeah, I hope that we get to see her in training camp. But one thing is for sure is that Tyler Marsh is very excited for training camp as well. He mentioned that a few times last night. And while our theme on this show has been dogs, it seems like the theme for the Chicago Sky right now is development. I mean, that word came out of their mouths so many times last night. So that is something to keep an eye on too, is their expectations heading into this season may be different than fans, because development is top of mind for them.
Yes. I'll note that development, especially in this generation where things are super duper fast paced, development is not a word that vibes well with the masses, but it's something that has to take place. There, you can't put a timestamp on, okay, Angel's been working on her jump shot, so now it's going to immediately be great for her going into her second season. No, she's been working on it, but it might not necessarily hit in terms of seeing the results on efficiency until later on this season. So I want to kind of just make sure people are looking at things through the right lens. And with the Angel example, don't look for if she's making it and gauge in that whether she's developed or not. Think about the mindset. Is she seeing the game in the ways that allows for her to then take those shots or make those passes in the pocket like we've been speaking to, for her to evolve? take that and then copy and paste it in respect to the team as well as players that they're bringing in. Development is not something that happens overnight. Sometimes it doesn't happen in 1 or 2 seasons, but if the steps are being taken, it's ultimately going to kind of come to the light. And then the last thing for me, Aisha Coulibaly, and then obviously Maddie Westbeld. We didn't get a chance to speak with them because we're on a kind of a 30-minute time limit in the offseason, but just wanted to make sure that those names are mentioned. They will certainly have some say-so in the decisions being made going into the regular season for this guy.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned them. 2 names that we just don't have time for today. But hopefully in another show we can get to them, and hopefully we get to see a little bit of them in training camp. I know Aisha is dealing with an injury, but Maddie, hopefully will be available. Thank you again to everybody who joined us. We only have 30 likes. I mean, come on now, that's ridiculous. I know there's more than that of you in here. I see almost 80 of you.
Yeah, 75 people watching.
Yeah.
45 people have not liked.
I mean, that it's not just hit the X in the upper right of the chat, and then you're going to look under the video title, and you're going to see 2 thumbs. You're going to hit the one that's pointing up, and then you can click on the chat again. Real easy.
Olympic medalist is now on the team. I mean, look at Hailey in this photo. I mean, she's an Olympic medalist. She's represented your country.
You got to give it up for that.
Unless you're Lukey, who's from Brazil.
You got to give it up for that. Thank you again for joining us on CHGO Sky. Keep it here on CHGO. We have a bull show in just a few hours. We're going to talk about some more unsexy basketball with them. And Blackhawks will follow that. Steven, you got anything else before we let the fine folks go?
Yeah, for the Bulls fans, play-in time. I know a lot of people do not want to hear that, but they are here, and I think they have a great chance of beating the Miami Heat tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to watching that game and obviously seeing what big guys Matt Peck and Big Dave, as well as obviously Will Gottlieb and the original Will, all have to say about everything going on with that game. So tap in with the coverage and support the things that you desire to see more of, and do it loudly.
Yep, that is 2 hours from now. We will see you then. Other than that, we'll see you next time, Skytown.
We all silly like the mayor.
A show. That was a show.